Hi, Possum Patty from Pennsylvania here with a snark on my shoulder and an art journal flip from my very first Strathmore 500 series mixed media journal. I started this journal in 2014 doing some lessons from sketchbook school, online sketchbook classes, and you can see there's a big difference between number 1 and number 10. Look at that. This one's so nice and neat and perfect. And this one I've just totally used as a playground, which I have to do a journal flip of this next. But today we're going to do a art journal flip from number 1. Okay, number 1, Strathmore 500 series mixed media journal, October to November in 2014. This was my first Strathmore journal, and it's just very precious. It was so precious to me. First of all, because I have Danny Gregory's signature on the cover, Sketchbook School co-founder. Thanks for coming to Kutztown, Patty. He was giving a lecture to the art students at Kutztown University, and I went along to see him. This is a stencil of an owl that I traced at the Audubon Center in Mill Grove. On the first page, I was answering the question, what's your obsession? And here I have quite a large rock collection, and here are some of my favorite pieces of jasper. And this one I love. It looks like it's got ink lines all around it, and it's called Network Jasper, and its meaning is to be connected. In this journal, I took a lot of notes from storytelling, sketchbook school course. These were notes on Kusha's lesson. And the first thing we had to do was illustrate a recipe. So I have oatmeal every morning, so this was my recipe for making oatmeal, with measured cups showing the water, the oats, a knife slicing the apple, blueberries, honey, and some cinnamon. More notes. Like I said, there's a lot of notes in this book. Then we had to illustrate a manual on how to do something. This is my Zoomy, my handheld digital microscope. And I have the 3 steps: install the software, plug it in, and press the button. And here's a picture of a caterpillar using the microscope. More notes and writing about my Zoomy. We had to do some character development. This is my Possum Patty character. And it says, dance to the music of the wind, and she's dancing with a leaf. And the silver streaks is supposed to represent the wind. And this journal was so precious to me that I really didn't want to try out my ideas in it. Don't worry, I've overcome that. So I had a cheap $5 sketchbook that I used to work out my ideas. And Possum Patty. Notes here, I'm working on my character development for my Possum Patty. What the face should look like, what shape glasses, how big the glasses should be, how big the eyes should be. Here's me trying to proportion out some sketches of somebody dancing and what the leaf would look like in different positions. And some more proportions here, trying to get body proportions and what the braid would look like. So this was my sketchbook to work out ideas before I put them in my other sketchbook. and notes on developing a character. And we had to report on something, so I was reporting on the workers on the pipeline that's behind my house. But again, I didn't want to sketch right in my sketchbook, so I took my cheap sketchbook out and did several pages of the men in the machines. I think I actually like these pages better. These were done very quickly on the spot. Men looking down into the pipe there. This is the bus that the workers came on. Big caterpillar. And this was a sketch I did at Cabela's. They had a real airplane hanging from the ceiling. And lots of animal mounts, lots of wildlife to sketch. But I like the lady sitting there. She was sitting on the bench next to me while I was sketching this. She didn't know I was sketching her. More notes. Sketching hands. More notes. For this assignment in sketchbook school, we were supposed to draw faces on little yellow post-it notes, but I didn't have any, so what I did was I just did some watercolor squares on these 2 pages, and then I took my pen and I sketched the faces over them. And these were the teachers for storytelling, sketchbook school. More notes. Notice how everything is all nice and neat. This is a story of me in kindergarten trying to open up a carton of milk. And you could see my character face there in the carton of milk. Back in those days, the milk came in these little cardboard cartons that you had to flip the lid open. And again, I was afraid to put it right in the book, so I sketched it out on another page before I put it in here. More notes. Some notes about International Sketch Crawl Day, October 18th. I went to the Lidditz Farmers Market with my friend Sheila. I took some sketches on the site, and then I did this page. I really liked this page a lot, but I didn't do it directly into there. This is the book that I took on the sketch crawl. And this was the fruits and vegetables wagon with the farmer selling. And this was my interpretation of that. I put all the fruits, different fruits and vegetables on a separate shelves. This is my friend Sheila. I saw some buckets with sunflowers and pumpkins and gourds, and I added that to the sketch here. We went to the bakery stand, 2 ladies baking, sketched a basket of bread, and that became this part. There was a creek next to Farmer's Market, and I wrote International Sketch Crawl Day in the creek. There was a father there feeding the geese with his daughter. After, oh wait, there was one more. There was a duo singing. Letches Moore was their name. I put them down here in the corner. They were singing We Can Work It Out. Where we had parked our car, there was a shed and a garden behind the woman's house next to the parking lot. I did a quick sketch of that, and I put that in up here. Best little shed in Lidditz, I called it. Then we went out to lunch at a restaurant. It's called the Tomato Pie Cafe, and their logo was tomatoes on a fork. And this was a sketch of one of the waitresses as she was working. She had a very long braid. And here's the Tomato Pie logo, Tomato Pie Cafe logo. And Sheila and myself sitting at the counter being served our lunch. And then we went to the store, Heavenly Soaps and Scents, and I sketched one of the bars of soap there, the Zum soap. Again, more notes. Talking about another character development. And, of course, I didn't do it directly in that book. I had to make some notes. So these are my Susan Munch character development notes. She's a little woman with a very large book that she carries around, working on designs for her headscarf, how she looks reading her book. My character development. And these are my cartoons. This is her standing in the poison ivy saying, "That's okay, I don't get poison ivy." This is her carrying her very large book. It says, "Let's take the trail along the creek, it will be fun." And here we have more notes. And for one of the sketchbook school lessons, we had to design the cover of a book or a story. And my story was Objects from the Sea. And in the corner you see this little box here, yard sale junk for $5. I bought a whole box of shells and starfish and pieces of coral. And I put my Possum Patty character there and called my book Objects from the Sea. More notes. And took my sketchbook to Lebanon Gun Show, sketched people in the cafe while my husband was looking around. And more notes. I went to the Reading Museum. Out in front of the museum were these very large statues of ants. And again, didn't want to put them right in my very precious sketchbook, so I took this one along and did some ant sketching. And I believe I did the museum too. And then I put them in this sketchbook. More notes from Danny Gregory. Getting a little freer here. I bought an electric car. This is my Nissan Leaf. I did a little diagram. My life was like a leaf on a stream, twirling, drifting back and forth, but always going forward. Daniel Boone. Here's the little Possum Patty character on a leaf going forward down the stream, and my leaf car. Picture of me plugging in my car. And a plate that my friend gave me. So now I'm actually starting to do some journaling and not just sketchbook school lessons. I did a stylized electric car. I think I worked on that in this book first. Oh, here's a picture of my Possum Patty character for Objects from the Sea. And my sketching at the Lebanon Gun Show characters. And here I am working on my stylization of my car. And this page I went to a water treatment plant. I took my environmental science students on a tour. I actually did some of the sketching on the tour, but finalized the whole page at home. I used some photographs that I took along the tour. And first we went to the office where the students got to look through a microscope. And then we went into a building that had some giant filters in it, and when the wastewater came into the building, all the larger objects got caught in these large filters. And think of all the things that children flush down the toilet, and these are things, and someone from one of the workers at the treatment plant had actually taken all the toys from the filters and lined them up on the windowsill. And I did a quick sketch, but I took a picture so I could finish it at home. We went into other parts of the treatment plant. At this part, it was very bubbly, very brown and very bubbly, the wastewater. And I made a little note here. Remember back in elementary school when you put your straw into your carton of chocolate milk and blue bubbles? Well, this ain't it. This part of the waste treatment plant, the wastewater slows down a lot, and it reminded me of the lazy river. So I drew a character sitting on a float going down the lazy river, and then the water, after it's chlorinated, goes down, and chlorine's taken out, goes down to the creek. So this was my tour of the wastewater plant. Taking a course with Liz Steele, Sketching Now Foundations. Big fan of Dirty Palette. This is my same palette 4 years later, and it's even dirtier than what it was. Sketching some of my art tools. I ventured out with my sketchbook and actually took the sketchbook. It's becoming less precious now. I'm learning how to be a little freer and actually got the page dirty and sketched some syrup bottles and wrote a little bit about what was going on. I went to see the movie Interstellar, and in the movie he quotes the poem "Do Not Go Gentle Into the Good Night" by Dylan Thomas, and I wrote that poem on the page. I used some masking fluid to leave some white spots, and then I put watercolor, and then I put some yellow into where I removed the masking fluid to make it look a little spacey. And this is, I took it to a restaurant and sketched a ketchup bottle that stands on its head. This is a pencil that I used. I did another little ketchup bottle down here. This was a pear that I had doodled while I was talking on the phone, and it was just so free that I decided to put it in here because I liked it a lot. Took my journal along to the Audubon Center in Mill Grove. I became a Pennsylvania Master Naturalist, so I recorded that by putting in my name badge. This was copied from a mural on the wall at the Audubon Center. And I took the book with me to a visit to the cardiologist. And while sitting in the examining room waiting for the doctor, I sketched from a poster that was on the wall. And the doctor came in and he said, "You drew that just now?" I said, "Yes. I figured that if I had to spend this much time in the doctor's office, I might as well become a medical illustrator," and made him laugh. And that was my first precious one, and I've certainly learned to make them less precious and do more sketching from life and carry the book around me and not have to pre-plan every page. I still take some notes, but they certainly don't look as neat as these. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.